Our study in this month's Annals of Internal Medicine looks at a very simple question, which is how often do medical providers know which of their patients have a central venous catheter? And the study looked at almost 2,000 patients, over 1,000 unique providers, and found that approximately 1 in 5 medical providers didn't know which of their patients had a central venous catheter on the day they were surveyed. What was really fascinating was the fact that the awareness of catheters really varied based upon who we asked. So interns and residents seemed to know more often which of their patients had a device. But as we went up the chain of command to the attending level physicians, who by definition are most entrusted with patient care, awareness dropped to 1 in 5 physicians. Our work and the work of others in this field has shown repeatedly that central venous catheters and peripherally inserted central catheters are great tools for the care of hospitalized patients. But just as they are helpful, they can also be harmful. A key way to prevent such complications is to pull devices that are no longer necessary or remove them. But removing of a device requires that you know it's there and that you know it's no longer clinically valid. Intensive care unit providers and those with hematology and oncology really had a much greater awareness of devices than other providers. So the first question I think about is, what can we learn from them? What practices do they employ that we can perhaps take out of the ICU or out of the cancer population and apply it to the hospitalized subset of patients that don't fit those criteria? The second aspect that I take away from this is more about my practice, which is talking more often to the people at the bedside, the nurses. Often it's nurses that hook up IVs, nurses that do the blood draws, and so by the proximity to the patient, you always know what type of line your patient has because you're responsible for caring for it and using it. Finally, I think there's this question of technology, and is technology helpful or harmful in this regard? A lot of our sites felt that the tracking systems for these devices, whether it's reporting on their presence or reporting issues, were very fragmented and very siloed. And I think building newer systems and better interventions that add to improved clinical care practices is necessary moving forward with respect to central venous catheters and PICCs. So this was a study that was bootstrapped from the outset. There was no funding for this paper. This involved 3 investigators at 3 different medical centers coming together because all of us believed this was a problem that needed to be assessed and answered. We had a lot of help from interns, residents, and medical students who actually helped collect data. I want to specifically also call out the review process at Annals. This was a very laborious, time-intense, but very careful and constructive feedback process. I think the peer reviewers were phenomenal with respect to understanding what a problem this is, as well as putting into place some more theoretical aspects about how does this work with nursing awareness and nursing practices. What about the question of whether or not the central line or the PICC was really necessary in the first place? And this really came to a great conversation in the discussion of this paper, which I think, and I attribute completely to the feedback from the editors as well as from the reviewers. But I am absolutely convinced the final product is much better as a result of the process.